Yene Professor Lord Mensah Enunkumo or a senior lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. Yenjini thoughts na or a media budget presentation the finance minister. Prof, and I pay your more about happy morning show. So.
You mean Bema, Miss Mokaba, a tearful Yammo watch.
Now, improve the Siano pay.
And a pay boko, you muna you kakra. No be poisua.
No quit. Opani, and I would see a finance minister. As a finance person, as an economist, what were the key issues from the presentation?
Oh, I mean, one of the main things I saw from the presentation and then the indications were that for revenue, which I mean, as a country that is, Omaya or Brazil be obeyed rich career. If it's a revenue side in the because what target they numbers no 50 with 4.7. That's the one you move 59.3. It means why idea and yes on the revenue side the my idea and measures some of the two form so it seems to be working. But you see, to me generate this kind now spending anyhow. That's where the problem is. We generate this kind now spending anyhow. The economies will catch up with you because we share expenditure side now. I'm saying that target and then I'm 92.9 and you make it 58.5 billion Ghana cedis for the first half. That tells you that we are not doing well on the expenditure side. And if you are not doing well on the expenditure side, and yes, that time no if anything, agenda 111 at the better for share agenda 11 yeah. I'm saying to have a be I'm saying Bakubia question about 16 billion US dollars. Bakubia and 111. 111 multiply 16 billion dollars for 111. That's the only number if anything, almost 2 billion US dollars to establish that agenda 111. And then Ghana and Pempenso I agree. That's carry a coffee. Even when you take into consideration your petroleum receipt, now taking into petroleum revenue receipt, I know that for dollars never. Now consider if anything, they were let's see a price here out or if anything, international market. Now, if anything, even bonds grab by between you should their finances agenda one because ultimately you should treasury bill and finance you own because the treasury bill is short term. And I don't acquire long term investment. It don't mean you should treasury bill and farm finance it, if anything. Agenda one. And yet there also will listing war. No money numbers no I say yes. Also listing war no with indications that 83 krano is in a what do you call it? Active process. They are still ongoing at all the 16 regions. To me, I don't know finance is a problem. And you could see share your friend is a planting for food and jobs. You see, planting for food and jobs, meaning I said Juma. Because in Juma and your friend is saying food inflation will not be leading, inflation in our space here. Offshore Ivory Coast, they've gotten that stability because of it. Inflation was formed because of food, policies from rolling out. Your friend is saying Nigeria, they've also been enjoying some stability because of food to a point to create rice imported. The essentials that planting for food and jobs was supposed to give us, which is food on the table, and to me I'm fine. Why should you continue to allocate when we have other policies to think about? To know very well, say policies are a year way. To me, we say IMF program with the budget review or see to align, the budget to the IMF program, the PCPEC program.
Yeah.
We share a PCPEC program. It indicates that there are some non-essential, capital expenditures that we may look at, and Agenda 111 is one of them. It's a non-essential capital, expenditure that government at its discretion. Obet me Kabimuso, district, I won't hear hospitals. I won't hear this hospital the call. Now, share your friend is I did back on some for free. So you asked me a question by opening the statement. To me, they're not
I fine, but I'm trying to make sense of the points you're making about planting for food and jobs, and I will say it didn't achieve much. Other than that, inflation, food-driven inflation would not be here. But if you go through the document, you find out that the finance minister is emphatic, said planting for food and jobs has been successful. And they are even seeking to do a second phase implementation. Because
I know that the second phase is what is going to do the targeting. So now it's like a lesson has been learned. All the still food staples it's a maize, rice, soya, any other, I don't know. They are now going to make sure, because they've seen having a policy that you diversify the policy in its implementation so much, A bit to me about capacity building, planting for food, musica, hotels in the sky in Akodium because you're training California the other. And in Ghana, instead of going to the farm, you have shepherd near the furnace. Hotel crop drop plants and Zania food more. Every crown up in the first phase, no crown, the country do not share baby and nine says Ama, and no, I just kind of farmer. At the end, was a bad cake.
Prof, I wish I could agree with you. But if you look at the section that talks about agriculture and food security, this is the finance minister. And you are talking about the phase 2, and that being the lessons they have learned from phase 1. But listen to the finance minister. I'll say, Mr. Speaker, planting for food and jobs has brought substantial improvements in Ghana's agriculture sector. This has resulted in increased food security, employment along agricultural value chains, and accessibility of raw materials for developing industry. The program has directly contributed to increased crop yields for major food staples such as maize, rice, soya by 135%, 67%, and 18% respectively for a year. Produce and see, that's in variance to opposition. Say the government is now learning its lessons from.
You are reading what is on the paper.
Yes, but that's what he presented to us.
Yes, he's presented it to you. But is that what you're experiencing in your life? How much is rice price now? As you were buying it before the program started, and now how much is rice price? That should tell you that the program is not making impact. Because you know what? We have what we call impact assessment of a policy that has been rolling out. And one of the indicators is to look at how households are consuming the product, and then the differentials that it has made on their income when it comes to, monthly basis. Salaries I'm talking about here. So, Sadia, the money a bit, a more near tonno and caneno. But your friend is saying 150 per 25 kilo bag, and they will come market. How much is that rice? Senka, sa policy near Juma. Why do we have, still foreign rice on the market? 80 to me, dear. Let's bring it to our life, as we speak here. If you're looking at soya, it's part of the breakfast, meals that you can have. But do we see that soya on the market as we speak now? Go to the market women and go and ask them the prices of a bag of soya when, before the policy and then after the policy. Then you can determine whether the policy is making impact or not. Because obviously if the policy is yielding, you expect that there will be influx of the produce on the market and the prices will go down. So at the end of the day, food inflation is still high. And if it's still high, it means the policy is not functioning as expected. And so why do you go on a second phase? I would wish that the second phase should be, looking at input credit system, storage and distribution infrastructure. Where are the produce to establish storage and distribution infrastructure for it when you go to the second phase? So from where I sit, I think that, we should go back to the table and look at that policy very well, because the money has grown over the past, from 2020 all the way to now, and we are still not seeing food prices coming down. To tell you that, yes, it is a good policy on paper, as is read to you, and probably you have accepted it, Sammy. And maybe I'm too.
Well, so then there's a problem, because if a finance minister who is standing at no mean a place than the House of Parliament, the August House of Parliament, is giving us information that's unrealistic, that's not reflecting the realities on the ground, then we have a problem.
Sammy, yes. So it's good that you've raised the issue of reality. Let's look at the three indicators he used to indicate that the economy is around the corner. right? We're talking about interest rate here. We're talking about inflation here. We're talking about exchange rate. Let me tell you one thing. You see, there's a difference between having a numerical reduction than having an economic impacted reduction.
Okay.
There's a difference between the two. And let me explain it to you. The reason why he's saying that interest rate has come down there last 6 months near about 35.6, and then the treasury bill in number 30 point something. So there's a numerical reduction. But what is the impact of that reduction to the ordinary Ghanaian to walk to the bank to borrow funds at a cheaper cost and then do a business with it by expanding and employing people, where the economy will be transferred from the what do we call it, the government corridors to the private sector, because the private sector can easily have access to funds. The thing is, no, there's no liquidity, there's no even money. The little money that the banks have, they are, investing in government instruments because the rates are high. And look at Bank of Ghana's, balance sheet recently that they drew up. You could see that there's no money in the system. To some extent, they have to waive off government debt. So there's liquidity problem. So having that interest rate and not building up into reduction in cost of borrowing does not make it, economically impactful. But numerically, you brought it down. Now let's look at inflation. Inflation, we are around your friend is 52 point something. Any atiaba from your friend is do 40. Meaning, we invest your treasury bills. How much is your return? Your return is around 30%. So inflation is 40%. Now return on your investment is 30%. The real value of that investment is negative. And we invest now, probably with this kind of investment because one, maybe how the 2 year acrophobia baby, and 2, with the 2 year inflation be wiping out to zero because I don't come my own sick the cement bag and Ankauta, but price not double and uni BBW. Now let's come to exchange rate. So all the reductions we've seen them in the past 6 months. It does not make economic world, sense, because the reductions are not building up into homes. Let's look at the exchange rate. The exchange rate has been stable for some time now. Now, you can't almost demand the exchange rate to Ghana. Therefore, you split the economic agents into 3. There were businesses, there were individuals, and there were government. So government should demand the dollar saying, as we speak now, government has suspended its external debt service. External debt service near the dollar piano.
Yeah.
Government has suspended it. It was suspending or negotiating. That's even external creditors, okay, fine. You reduce coupon payment by 50% amount. It is $32. Government best started demanding dollars. It is on started demanding dollars. That is a friend I who the full scale of economic demand of dollars in Ghana. For now, the scale is partial. It's not full.
Okay.
It demand and said that yet strong and I could shake it up the way we expect the details to be. So let's see how by the end of the year, the way negotiations will start ended. By the end of the year, the government bond market not started or $G I could car. I feel the real value of the dollar to the city. It is for now, that stability for me it's not something that we should rely on it so much.
Now, there was the point about...
So these are the economic explanations to the numericals or towards the economies.
Interesting. But not what can a gross domestic product. Any studio the initial projections or the buyer on the budget, a lot of us sat here and said so they were too ambitious and that it was unattainable. And no, wherever I said the numbers not down. Did it surprise you?
It hasn't, not at all. Not at all. And that is when, at the point, I tried to question the competence of the finance minister in a sense that when you set up target as an economic manager, set up target, we measure your performance based on how you hit the target. If any deviation from the target is non-performance. It is always his set target. That's when to me I'm meeting target. Now the target becomes overly ambitious. And as to what inform the target, no, you are not able to determine what exactly informed that target you set earlier. It's somewhere in November, April, 2023. No, that's the over. Now the situation on the grounds within the first 6 months has brought about a reduction. I mean, it tells you, say, fine, as a finance minister, no, what you man say, because the target determines your performance. And say what to me, I said to your friend is saying, will target. Now, economic situation are changing. Why would the GDP be revised from 2 point something to 1.5? You see, economy to be, for that revision to take place. It does not mean that the economy is not going to grow, but then the acceleration of growth, and it has been reduced to 1.5 instead of 2 point something.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're asking yourself, what informed the first one for you to reduce it to about, I'm looking for the number to be right on it, so I can get percentage of, reduction in the growth, So if you look at the reduction in the growth, it's almost about, 70% reduction. That means sitting back in January, you couldn't look into the economy very well to look at a possible risk that your projections are likely to face.
Could it have been, sir, because at the time now, per IMF, the books had to look good?
Not necessarily, because IMF they even know the economy when the macro scale of the economy more than we do. At some sense, when you say per data, sometimes you don't get it. But if we buy some per data, they give it to them.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's not necessarily because of the IMF that we are projecting, a very good growth. IMF is not a commercial creditor.
Okay.
IMF is a humanitarian creditor. It don't present a bad situation. You can make more. How can present this? Normal person good. I'm sure. And when it comes to projections, and I have a problem with this finance minister, and that is why I question there. Do by Bilam face or no crack can be or can be an economy no do say.
Prof, you're looking at other areas, and mine has to do with the banking sector, because we share page 13 of the report nowadays. The finance minister at some point admits to say the banking sector and other institutions have been badly impacted by DDEP. Then he goes ahead to indicate, say, now they are hoping for a second phase of DDEP. Where would this leave us if there's going to be a second phase?
Yeah, I'm saying the second phase, it's bound to happen in a sense that our second phase DDP now, finance minister listed agenda 111 at the office.
Yeah.
Because if there's a second phase, that means to mean and a buccaneer there is a normal way now. It is now compare